Gch6 chapter 6, which is about the concepts of work and energy. We'll start off with the concept of work, which is the beginning of the chapter. The idea of work concerns when something moves from an initial position to a final position. Later on we'll allow more complicated kinds of motion, but now we're just going to imagine some kind of mass moving from one position to another. And we're going to imagine that while it does that, there's a constant force that's applied to it. I'm going to label the constant force by F here, and it's shown as red vector arrows that have the same magnitude and same direction as the object follows its trajectory from the initial position, I'm imagining that's the lower left, to the final position, upper right. In order to express the work done by that force F on the object as it moves, we're going to need to get components of F, x components and y components. And of course, to do that, we need a coordinate system, x, y coordinates. So I've chosen horizontal and vertical. And in those coordinates, the force F has some x and y coordinates. Here in this example, the x coordinate would be positive and the y coordinate negative. Okay? Similarly, we also need to think about the displacement of the object between initial and final. So as it goes from the lower left to the upper right, the displacement vector looks like this. I've denoted it by delta r, and it also has x and y components, which I'll denote by delta x and delta y. And now with those pieces, we can express the work done by the force on the object as it moves from the initial to the final position. This is only valid for constant forces so far, but what we do is multiply the x component of the force times the x component of the displacement, and similarly for the y components. The SI unit for work, work is a kind of energy, and the SI unit is the unit of newtons for force times meters for displacement, so Newton meters, and the shortcut or shorthand notation for that is a joule. A joule is 1 Newton meter, so that's the SI unit we'll use. And now I want you to take a moment and consider exercise 1. So I'll pause the video, but here is the exercise. This is on the worksheet involving work, and it involves a ½ kilogram bird which flies from a ledge on a building on some crazy tortured path and lands on the ground. And meanwhile, it's moved down 50 meters and over horizontally 30 meters. And the question is, how much work does gravity do on the bird during the flight? So try that yourself, and we'll come back and do an explanation together in a minute.